Okay guys, sorry about that little interruption, but you get that. So we put the cover on, obviously we put the fuel pipes on, it was all there, you didn't miss anything. Basically, yeah, we torqued up those top fuel pipes after we did the ones on the common rail. It doesn't matter which order you do it, as long as you don't miss any. Double check you've done them all, it's all good. The only other thing I did since the video stopped, which we did in time lapse, was we nipped up all those valve cover bolts to 9 Newton meters. Like I said, happy to do that afterwards. We've got the fuel system on the fuel pipes on, so what we start doing now is pumping up the fuel system because it's sealed, so it's worthwhile doing now, and get some fuel up to the system, and it'll go soft again, go hard again. It does help. Generally, if you pump it up enough, the vehicle will take approximately 6 seconds to start, okay? So to give you a guide, how long should it take? I haven't done that before. The most common 6 seconds, quite often it's 10, 15 or 20 seconds. Make sure you've got a good battery. Don't do this job if you've got an old dead battery you're stringing out. The average life of a battery, 4 years. So just replace it at about 4 years, otherwise you're going to get caught out one day. Your alternator's going to be working harder and more chance that might fail, burn out diodes, whatever, right? So 4 or 5 years. The original battery, maybe you can push it out to 5, 5.5. I do see them come in at 7, the original batteries. They're really good batteries, but the reserve capacity, just think of the battery. It's got, I don't know how to explain it to you best in a nutshell. This is not a battery video, so let's just stop it. Make sure you got a good battery so that it cranks well. You might need up to 20 seconds. If you get a bit of soot under the valves and compression issues, whatever, it might not start as quick. So there you go. All right, now, so we've checked the valve cover. We've got all the clamps on the fuel lines. We're happy with those. All the fuel lines are done up. We've pumped up the fuel. Next thing is we want to put that stay back on the inlet manifold. You know, the stay they call it, the bracket. So working from the outside, the bolt. This is the bolt here, that's what it looks like. It's got 2 dots on the end. Remember this stay here in part 2 that we moved out the way? We're putting that back now, right? So have your throw-out drive ratchet handy. I prefer the 12mm deep reach, that's why I've got something to hold on to and guide it in. It's in a bit of a hidden spot down there. You don't need to see, I mean, you can see enough from there to find out where it is, right? If you can't, you need to be able to figure out some of the basics. If this video isn't enough for you, you probably shouldn't be doing it, right? So that's done up. I'm going to put the socket on and give it a good cranking. I don't use torque settings on this. It's probably 20 Newton meters. I probably gave it 30. It's tight. It's not over tight, and I didn't rip the alloy out of the manifold. It's not coming loose. That's all that matters, right? Now that we've done that, I'm going to pop this vacuum line on. It's kind of like they go hand in hand, so you don't forget it. It's pink. It can only go in one spot, right? Not these two down here. We haven't done those yet, right? They're coming. All right, we'll leave those down there still. Right, clamps done up, clamps done up. See, I like to check things. Clamps, fuel lines, happy days. Give it another pump, right? Now, the bolt at the bottom of that stay. So we need to get our 3/8 drive, our favourite extension again, and our 12mm single hex. Well, we showed you in a bit more detail on the taking it out video. This is what we use to do it up. Put it on doing up. Our arm goes down, in through this gap near the firewall, swing it around. I'm even going to do it in the dark. You might even get my head in the picture, I don't know. Because you got to lean down a fair bit. Got the ratchet on, I do it up by hand. Actually made a mistake. This car hasn't got a lift, so I've been able to reach in a bit easier. So I haven't been using my step up. I need to step up for this because it is so low. So get down there and just, again, give it a decent cranking so it's not going to come loose or fall out, right? So that's done, piece of cake. That is quite hard to get to. I'm going to put it out there and say it's that bottom bolt on that stay is easiest to get to on the 120s, just to do with all the wiring and stuff, right? The 120s are the easiest. The Hiluxes are a bit fiddly because the way the engine mount is, they're a different engine mount. And the corner of the steel's kind of in the way, and just the way all the wiring loom and hoses, they're a bit fiddly to get to, but you know, you just learn your ways. And the 150s, yeah, not too bad, but the 120s are the easiest to get to those. So bang, they're back on. Give it another pump. Okay, time to put the E-jar valve assembly. So for people that are just doing E-jar cleans, this is the important part for you. And if you're not confident to do the injector job, you can always do the E-jar clean. That's basically to this stage. Watch the video to pull it apart and then come back to this stage to put it back together, okay? So first thing we're going to do is use a clean rag and just make sure the surface of the manifold and where the E-jar cooler joins on is clean, which we already cleaned it, but we just want to be sure, right? You know, we We don't want any bits, one bit of carbon sitting there to hold a gap open so that oil can, it's not going to be a bad leak, but oil's just going to weep out or something like that maybe. We're going to grab a new gasket. We always use a new gasket for that one. Okay, always. That's something we always do. No if, buts or maybes, always, because most of the time, so they're a stainless gasket and they've got like a rubber kind of plasticky rubber coating and it flakes off. Just about always on this one, and even if it doesn't, we use a new one anyway, right? So we just need to get that gasket in place. There's a little tab on it that faces downwards at the back, so that's in place. My son's got this saying off the kids at school. Get this, right? He'll just go random. Head in place, chicken on face. What's that? Head in place, chicken on face. And you just laugh because it's stupid, right? Head in place, chicken on face. Anyway, gasket in place, EGR coming to be in place. Right, so here's a few tips with your EGR for those EGR cleaning people. Right, there's the assembly. All right, leave these 3 nuts loose so that you can, so that this wobbles, right? Because this is bolted firmly here, right, to the manifold, and this stay is bolted firmly to that bracket. So there needs to be a difference between the two. So leave it loose is the easy way. The problem with it is, don't forget to tighten these nuts up at the end, because if you do, they're going to vibrate and fall off. And your gasket underneath should be clipped on. You can reuse that one as well, but if you've got a kit off me and you ask for all the gaskets, you can use a new one. It's up to you either way. And that just sits in place like that. Head in place, chicken on face. I hope you get the joke. But bit of a silly one, these school kids, unbelievable. Now with these bolts here, they look like they've got a bit of corrosion on them. So what we do, we use a bit of, you can just use grease. You can use anti-seize grease, whatever you want to use, You can use copperies or, what's it called? Andrew's favourite one, Never Seize. That's cool, probably an awesome product. I haven't used Never Seize, if that's what it's called. I use this stuff a bit, but one person tells me you've got to be careful where you use it because of the copper and alloy thing. I get that generally. I know what you mean, like in an aluminium boat, you've got to be careful. Electrolysis, right? But I'm not sure it's the case with this product. I don't think it's an issue. There's people that use it, been using it for a long time, never had an issue. So I believe that it's fine. I reckon there'd be a big don't use on alloy thing if it was a problem. So we're going to use copperies for this one, and it is going into alloy to prove that, we do what we say. We could have got the grease, but whatever. So I'm going to put a bolt in down at this side. Look, you got the wiring loom there. It's a bit fiddly to get in place, but you get that. So get your long extension. And you remember the wobbly socket, right? Single hex is best. And if that's all just sitting in place nicely, push back on that wiring loom is the easiest way to get it started. If it's not starting, it's probably not sitting in place, so give it a jiggle, and then it should. Making a liar of me again. You kind of need an extra few hands, but you need them connected to the same brain. That's the problem when you've got extra hands. They just don't do the right thing, do they? You hold the torch. Ring any bells? Ever had anyone hold a torch with? Thanks for that. Really wanted to be blinded. Anyway, take these bolts around the other side and get those in also. So let's get the long one that goes in here started first. Make sure we can get that done. Right. That can be a bit tight, simply because, like I said, it's good to leave that all loose so it can move, but a little bit tight anyway, So obviously manufacturing tolerances as to how well they're going to align or not, but you can see by hand it's coming all the way through the alloy, no problem. That's the longer one, we said that in the other video. And you've got two more, the 3 that go the elbow into the manifold. They're all the same length. Right. The one at the other side and the 2 at this side, that is. All the same length. So get those 4 bolts started. that's good. So for tightening down purposes, I would say tighten your three. Your three go down into the manifold first. So we'll do that. I think they're probably again about a 20 or 25 Newton meter thing. I really, no idea. Look, I've looked it up. Looked them up years ago. A couple of times. Just going to get the longer extension. It feels like it works better. Could be making a mistake, but anyway. No, I wanted the uni joint is what I wanted to. Brain not work. Head in place, chicken on face. I don't know what I was saying. I do that all the time. Made a few mistakes in the video yesterday. I said 40 centimetres when I meant 40 millimetres. I watched a bit of the video later, just checking, making sure I didn't do anything too stupid. But yeah, 40 centimetres. I hope you know what I mean. When it's something obvious like that, you know what I mean. Or if it's not that important, I'll just leave it there, you know. It was about how wide the rag was cut in a strip. 40 millimetres, of course, right? Not 40 centimetres. You might have thought I meant 40 centimetres long. So I sort of covered myself that way because I didn't actually say, you know, too much detail. So those three are done nice and firm. Don't do them so tight that you rip the alloy out of the manifold. It should be pretty hard to do because I've never done it. Okay, so those three are done. Then you want to grab your 12mm ratchet spanner. Right. 12mm ratchet spanner, and it's borderline going to work, but you know what I mean, because I'm whatever, you know, it's got easier as it went in, so there you go. Anyway, come on, plug, get out of the way. That is where that plug sits, so it's allowed to be there. It's its place, not mine, so you know, just go like that to get out of the way, huh? Okay, yep, nice and tight, but it's probably 20 to 30 Newton meters what I've done, you know, taking a ballpark guess. Now, what do we say? Don't forget those three nuts. So now's a good time to do those up. So I've just got this dodgy little cheap spanner. Very old, the Apprentice Toolkit type spanner. So we might even have... Where is it anyway? Oh, there it is. First year apprentice spanner. I'm going to show it to you, right? The first year apprentice spanner from back in... When did I buy this set? It must have been 91. Right, cheap as chips. I had this cantilever toolbox. You know, they go alright. Lost a bit of the coating, but they're rubbish. They go alright, but they are rubbish, you know. And you only use them for, you know, obviously over straight away. Even as a first year, we were buying, you know, you could afford, I think we got a tool allowance $5 or $7 or $8 a week, and try and spend that on tools, of course, because that's what it was. And you'd go, Snap-on truck would rock up, because, you know, didn't they do good business? How convenient, you know, we're all busy at work and they turn up at your doorstep, right? So I remember, if I remember correctly, the things I purchased, first thing was a 10mm Snap-on spanner, right, which has been going ever since then really well. It's got a lot of wear on it since then. Right, I think it was $50 for the spanner. I could be wrong because it seemed like a lot of money. Maybe it was 20, but back in 91, $20 for one spanner, when you're on $150 a week, it was a lot of money. But I feel like for some reason it was 50, but anyway, it was a lot of money for one spanner, and I don't think I bought another Snap-on spanner after that. Got some other brands and sets and all that. It was a good spanner to have. It's nice and long, good leverage. I like to do that up nice and tight. Like I said, I don't want the nuts to come loose, but I don't want to leak either. So this is your intake system. If you do get a decent leak, you could get a whistle from it, you know, e.g. if you left these loose, if you forgot to do them up, the nuts are probably going to fall off and you're going to lose them, and you're going to get quite a whistle out of your intake. Right, so those three are done. So that is in place. Head in place, chicken on face. Right, that's going to be the theme for the rest of this video. Head in place, chicken on face. That's on. Now what do we need to do? We need to bolt the bottom of the EJAR cooler up now. And if you remember in part 2, I said don't do up any of these tight, and this is why. Because you need to be able to loosen this one again now to allow, see that movement? Once you've got that movement, you can get these bolts in again. We'll grab those, well, there's 2 of them. I'm going to grab one at a time because one's at each side. A little bit of lubey lube, and the main reason we put lube on there, anti-seize, not because they ever seize, but when you wash your engine down, depends what degreaser you use. Like I love that Kenko stuff, but you've really got to make sure you rinse it off thoroughly. Okay, don't leave it sitting around because it is caustic sort of, you know, it'll cause corrosion and eat into stuff. So the key thing there is make sure you wash it off thoroughly. Don't be a water saver and go, oh no, you know, you don't want to waste another 3 litres of water. You know, you're going to have to just make sure it's right by finishing the job properly. Okay, so that upside down bolt's in. People tell me how hard they are. I totally agree, but I'm showing you the easy way. You know, it takes you many practices of pain and suffering before you work out the best ways. And I could just keep it to myself, couldn't I? And look, I will keep some of it, maybe for a period of time, and then eventually I'm going to build up videos on this YouTube channel, and some of them are only available with links. So if you need a specific video, you know, anything can be purchased. Why purchase? Because it takes time. My time's my time to do what I want, and unfortunately bills have got to be paid as well. So if you want something extra, you can contact me and ask for it. That's what we do. It is a business, and I'm here to make money, profit. Okay, just not that much. You know, if I wanted to make a lot, I'd obviously expand the business and be one of these corporate greed type, you know, things. But it's just me. Just cruising along, keep it simple, help you as much as I can. But if you need something, let me know, and I'll try and make that video for you, and I can send you a link, even if it's just for you, or, you know, as people ask for it. So we're building up the videos on YouTube. They're not all visible at the moment. There's going to be thousands and thousands of hours of, you know, things, how to do things on motor vehicles. Give it another pump. We've got those 2 upside down bolts in place. The next thing I like to do is, so there's an order of tightening things up. Think about it. I want that EJAR cooler in the correct place. There's no point doing that and that up and then doing up the mounting bolt, because it's going to pull the EJAR cooler into where it needs to go. So we're just going to nip that up first so it pulls it in where it needs to go, right? Nice and firm. We don't want that falling out. That is your most important bolt. I've said that in other videos. People forget it. People leave it loose, right? They get it started, they forget to tighten it up. Do not forget that bolt. It's hidden under the hoses. You won't see it. You might forget to put it in. If you've got a leftover bolt, straight away make sure that, I can't tell you enough, don't forget that. Okay, it's one of those things. This is the things that happen. Never happened to me, but it's happened to other people, whether they can admit it or not. Right? Some people can't admit that they forgot, or they put it in but they didn't tighten it. Now we've just got to tighten up these nuts as well, because we left them loose for the same movement, and I don't use a torque wrench. I believe they're 13 Newton meters if I remember correctly. Little quarter drive, don't over tighten them. Torque wrench might be best for you. People do over tighten them and bust off the studs, very rare. I give them a fair cranking. I reckon I'm going to 20 Newton meters and quite hard on a quarter drive ratchet, you know, pulling it pretty hard to what feels right for me. And you know what? I've never had any issues. Now that upside, that king chrome spanner with a little kick on it again, obviously make sure you got on doing it up, not undoing. You don't want to have egg on face, head in place, chicken on face, egg on face. By going like this, undoing it in a video. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I'd do. Again, don't over tighten these either. It's just going into alloy. There was someone that did that. Now I'll give you the tip now. If you do that, there's room there to put a longer bolt in, right? I've got my finger between the material it screws into. There's a good, I reckon there's 10 mil there. So you could get a bolt 10 mil longer, because that original bolt finishes flush. So you could buy a bolt 10 mil longer than the standard one, and you could slip a nut in there and do it up. The other person that did it, I said, look, re-tap it, which he did, and that solved the problem by not over tightening it, and it was good. But worst case scenario, longer bolt and a nut. But just don't over tighten it. I've never done that. So there's just no need for it. You've been warned. Okay, lucky if you watched, because if you watched, you've been warned. I'm warning you. Okay, so we're just going to try and get that one nipped up as well. And if you forget these or don't do them tight enough, you'll know. I left those loose once. I put them in finger tight. Forgot to do what we're doing now and go back and forth and double check. At least one was a bit loose. You get a good whistle out of it then. Sounds cool. I don't think people want it back like that. Well, some people would. Okay, looking good. So we've got, what do we got there? What do we got? Oh, that's the important part's done, really. I just want to say. We're getting it back together quite swiftly now. Injectors are in, so the cover's on, pipe's on, the stay's on. This is what you do, you stop, you slow down. You might think, get on with it, whatever. No, well, I'm not going to get on with it. I'm teaching you this is what you do, right? It's not rush to the next point because you'll forget something, right? This power steering reservoir, that can wait for a bit. Make sure you got your ratchet and your 22mm off your crankshaft. Yep, from turning the crankshaft when you did your valve clearance check, don't forget that. Makes an awesome clunk when it falls off when you start the engine. And it usually undoes the crankshaft bolt, which is meant to be 325 Newton meters or something like that, which is fun tightening it up again. Done that a couple of times. So I can tell you what I've done. Okay, now that we've done up all those, this is a common one people forget, right? We've done up, okay, so we've done the 3 bolts there, the 3 nuts there, that one there, the upside down ones, the mounting one and the ones, and then we've got to put the plug back on the column rail, right? So that is the next step. That's why we stop and think about it. We could have moved on to the next step and missed that one. Hear the nice click, that's what you want to hear. Give it another pump while you're thinking. Now the next thing to do is to put the cover over the cover. The reason we haven't done it already is because it gives us maximum access to get these upside down bolts around that side. But now, that's the stage we're up to next. So the cover over the cover, we're going to grab that. And of course the bolts that were in it are the bolts that retain it, because that's where we said to put them. Okay, I don't generally wash this unless it's really bad, because they're generally not too bad. For this one, had a bit of sand and stuff at the back of it. I'm just giving that a quick wipe. Okay. So everything underneath nice and clean, but this one, you know, they're just going to get caked in dirt and mud and stuff anyway, right? Because it all goes through in your vents, through your bonnet, and dumps on your intercooler. Goes through your intercooler, and you know that's where it ends up, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So we're going to pop this cover over the pallet. Bada bing. And 4 bolts. Two larger 12 mils at the back. And little 10mm in the middle there. Don't over tighten it, because what it does, it pulls the stud out of the valve cover. Had that a number of times. Particularly fun when it's the one down the back here. But if you've got everything coming off, it's not too bad. I might as well tell you how to get that off. I'm sure you can figure it out yourself, but I'll tell you anyway. Right, so you get these out, you get whichever ones. It's best if there's only one like that. So you try and undo it, it's spinning, nothing's happening. Well, you need to have a heap of pressure on it, right? So you need to pull up on the cover here, like, to have that pressure against it. Put your impact driver, just spin it anti-clockwise. Look, blood. You drew first blood. Anyway, keep it spinning and keep the pressure up, and the whole stud will come out. And then obviously put the stud in the vise, get the bolt out, clean, glue the stud back in where it's meant to be. Key thing is though, is to not over tighten. Don't over tighten it when you put it back in. These are fine. Okay. We might use the impact driver, but I know the torque of where it's at. It only does a maximum of 40 Newton meters. And I've been using this one for, geez, I don't know, a long time. Many years. Like in police academy. Many. Anyway, just a little bit like that, you know, just enough that it ain't going to come loose and ain't going nowhere anyway. Even without any of those bolts, it's not going anywhere anyway. That back one, I see that missing quite often. If you've got a bolt missing in the back part of the cover, I'd suggest you don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. If you've got one missing from this clamp, which happens a bit, I believe they're the same as these, so I would take the one out of the back cover and put it in this clamp because that's more important. Okay. For me, I've got all the spares here, so it's not a non-issue. Just saying for you guys, right? Now, the next step can be putting this bolt back in the wiring loop. Basically, there is a bolt that holds the wiring loop. Well, you know what? Just click all the injectors on anyway. That's going to happen. We'll click that in a minute. Okay, so we've got to get some zip ties for that. We've got to get that bit of clip that fell down from there. We didn't grab that yet. Didn't forget about it. This is the little bolt that goes in the wiring loom up there, so we're going to do that at this point. 12 mil. Now I'll bring the impact roller for this one, I think. Just make it a quick little zip job. Okay, so we're about to have a client arrive to return his old injectors for his free contamination check. So when he arrives, I will stop the video and rejoin, but we'll keep it rolling until he rolls up. So if it stops all of a sudden, that's what's going on. Probably wrong tools for the job, but you know what? That'll do it. It doesn't need to be tight. Did the job. Just trying to be a bit quicker. We can click this in now. Clicked in. Don't forget this one either, because with it tucked in there, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. I've got to adjust the video a bit. Sorry about that. Can't see what I'm doing. We don't want that. So I just clip that in there. And I said, don't forget this, because it's sitting neatly in there, it's kind of easy to be forgotten. It needs to come around here, coolant temperature sensor, plug it in, and that clip, right? So then with everything from this side's on, this side is done, other than putting your intercooler in. It's all over the other side now. So I'll leave it there like that anyway, you can see what's going on. Right, so let's get over there and continue on. Next thing we probably want to put back on, again, it's looking at your nuts and bolts. Where do they go? We could put this power steering reservoir back on now, but we won't. We will put this bracket work on the side here. Now, where did I just put my tools? Put them down in a different place. Don't do that, because then you just can't find what you need. Table full of tools here is getting a bit full as well. Okay, so let's put a couple of bolts here aside. The easiest way is, again, that 12mm deep reach to get things started. Just gives you a bit of guidance to keep them straight, right? Just get them started. Don't tighten them up with your ratchet or anything like that yet. So you've got that one, you've got one below it. And there's one down the bottom, don't forget that. Okay, so we'll give that a wiggle to line it up, because it can swing around a bit, as you saw. I hope you saw it moving. Bolt in there now, going in by hand. I can hear a Prado 120 driving in here, so that'll be Steve, the police officer, coming for a visit. So we've just sat that on, and we'll just continue the video. I'll just stop the video, I'll continue again once I'm clear. Alright guys, thanks for watching so far. Hang around.